All right, guys, welcome to episode 13 of the Different Animals podcast. This is your boy Tyler,
And I'm Ever Castro.
and this week we're going to dispel all the fucking negative energy around the number 13 and give you another banger. We're going to talk about what we've been watching. We're going to talk about Mulan is supposed to be coming out, and there's some controversy around that. We'll be talking about, much like we talked about rappers who didn't quite make it, we're going to talk about some athletes who didn't quite make it. And then we're going to talk about the NC State Fair, which got canceled. But first, all right. So what we've been watching. So what have you been watching recently?
Yeah, so I have two things basically that I've been looking over. One is one that we talked about, and the other one is a TV show. But we can start with the TV show just so I can get it out the way real quick.
Okay.
So I finished up the show My Brilliant Friend
Okay.
that was on HBO. It was the Italian show.
Right.
And it was okay. I liked it okay. It was a little slow. It was just kind of like when you think about like Italian drama set in the 50s, it's exactly what you think it is. It's like slow and it's just like them growing up and like a coming of age tale and but it was okay. Like if you like that kind of stuff and if you like the books that they're based off, I think you'll like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the casual viewer might tap out after like a season or like halfway through the season. I just pushed through because it was only 8 episodes for the 2 seasons, 8 episodes each. But it was okay, and so I finished that up, and then I started this week the show Mrs. America on Hulu, and it's another one of these, like same with the ones I mentioned before, another one of these FX on Hulu shows
Mm-hmm.
where it's about set in the 1970s, and it's about the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, and kind of like the liberal feminist agenda that pushed it, and sort of the pushback from the more conservative, stay-at-home wives and women. And it's got a great cast. I mean, it's got an all-star cast. It's got Elizabeth Banks, Kate Blanchett,
Oh,
Rose
shit.
Byrne, who else? Tracy Ullman, and a couple of other people here or there. John Slattery from Mad Men. He plays one of the husbands, and so it's all. I really liked it, I really like it so far. I'm about halfway through it. It's a short series. It's only 9 episodes. But I am really enjoying it. I thought it was gonna be kind of stuffy. I was like, oh, it's gonna be like 1970s, like history, like slow moving. But this thing moves, and it's got a good pace. It's got a great soundtrack, and it's actually it's pretty funny. And you sort of go, well, like there's not much that you can get from them pushing the ERA amendment, like today. But you actually find yourself going like, oh, well, that's still applicable today, or like, oh, that's how, um, you know, movements or revolutions are still reacted to and still pushed back on, and you see sort of flashes of how certain rhetoric is today in the way that Kate Blanchett talks, and she's like the main conservative woman that pushes back against the amendment. But
Right.
I really enjoyed it so far. I cannot recommend it enough. It's not stuffy. It's not boring. It's really really good, and that's Mrs. America on Hulu.
Awesome. I'll add that to the list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm realizing now I don't watch TV nearly as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just a time issue for
Yeah.
me.
No, I mean, yeah, me too. I mean, I used to watch, when I was just out of college, I would watch, like, I would have like 5 or 6 series going at once, right? And I would have like a list and be like, all right, well, today's this one, today's that one, and I gotta watch like two of these and two of that or whatever. But now, I mean, I basically just do one at a time.
Right. Yeah. It seems like the three things I can think of that I've watched most recently, like a lot of, are just animes. And off the top of my head, like I watched Cowboy Bebop, which is an older anime, and that one's really good and pretty short. And it was made, I think, specifically for Western audiences by somebody, I'm going to say Japanese, and that's somebody's going to come for me. But I'm pretty sure, standard anime producer. It wasn't made in the West. That's what I'll say. It was made for the West, not in the West. And the dub on that is actually extremely good. And, I think it was because it was kind of made for that kind of audience that it all fits so well.
Yeah. I remember years ago they said that they were gonna do a live action version with Keanu Reeves. Yeah,
they're not doing Keanu Reeves anymore. I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
And Keanu Reeves would have worked perfectly. Like if you ever watch the anime, I legit think it might. It's very short. I want to say. I think it's legitimately one season, and it's pretty short. I think you can find it on. If not on Netflix, you could probably find it on like Crunchyroll or something like that.
Maybe even on YouTube. These days, like I remember I watched the Digimon series a couple years ago, and it was on YouTube, the whole thing. So
yeah, so the same guy that made Samurai Champloo, which is another kind of like one-off, like one season thing. Kind of, it's not as Western in style necessarily, but I still think it fits really well for that kind of audience. But then My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan. Those are the ones I've watched a lot recently, which are all anime, and I didn't really notice that until just now. But those are what I've been watching recently. But other than those, we both started watching a YouTube series.
Yes, yeah. So SB Nation, and I think they're like a sports media company. They have a series on YouTube called Collapse. And I sort of stumbled on this one. I think it was literally just recommended on my front page of YouTube, and all it does is just tell stories about sports teams that either won a championship and then just fell off, or teams that got super close to winning a championship and then just kind of fell off from that. And then they're only like 10 minutes long, and they just kind of go over the history of like all the players that were the core of the really good team and how they each fell off or dropped off or got cut or released or whatever. And so I think they've split them up into 2 seasons. I think each one has like 10 episodes, I think, or maybe 8 episodes. And like I said, they're all super short. And so literally I'll like make dinner and I'll watch an episode as I'm eating dinner, or like I'll make lunch and I'll watch one, or like I'll do something that takes like 10-15 minutes and I'll have that running as I'm doing it. But I really like it. And I think you watched a few of them too. I'm like 3 or 4 away from finishing all of it, but you watched a few as well, right?
Yeah, I kind of just started it. I watched the one you sent me, which was devastating, which is just a detail of why the Knicks have been so bad for eternity. That felt great to watch. And then I've watched one on the Nets and one on, what was the other one?
The Thunder, right? You said the Thunder?
Yep, the Thunder.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk? I know we both watched the Thunder one.
Yes.
I think you've watched actually probably all of them that I have.
Yeah.
But the Thunder one, I think we said was the most interesting, kind of for both of us. So I'll touch on the other 2 first, just some of the interesting things on that, which is that like it seems like the Knicks really just have never had a direction. You know what I mean? Like we've never tried to tank. We've never really like went all in. Or when we do go all in, we do it in ways that everybody, even at the time, is like, "What is this? Like, why did you do this?" Like,
yeah, like it feels
like they traded away picks to I think like super old to Kim Mutombo, and it's like, why? Why did you do that?
Yeah, it's like it's the '99 Knicks, which were like an 8 seed, and they made it to the finals, and that's the team that they choose to sort of jump off of from like the collapse downward. And for me, it's like they sort of just lucked into being that good, and so, but I feel like they probably were an outlier in terms of the overall just kind of blah of the Knicks the last 20 to 30 years.
Absolutely. You had the Knicks, the Pat Riley Knicks were great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the 90s. Yep.
And then the Jeff Van Gundy Knicks were okay. I'll say they were good. You know what I mean? Like they were. I would say like you were probably always on the verge of making the playoffs with those teams, like the 99 one that made the finals.
Yeah,
like that was kind of a fluke that they made the finals, but I would say like it's fair that they made the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just never would have thought they'd had a chance to go that far. but like, and then it just kind of went to shit. And it seems like the overwhelming formula is like James Dolan gets involved, hires someone who is completely inept, whether it's Isaiah Thomas, and then never getting rid of that person in time before they ruin things,
Mm-hmm.
and then trading away draft picks for like a chance to do it quickly, like a
Mm-hmm.
chance to like get ready quick. But we
Yeah.
always traded for like older stars, and it's like that doesn't work because like basically they did the LeBron strategy without LeBron. LeBron like shows up and he's like, "Look, we just need like good players who can last for a year or two, and I can cover the rest of the bases and get us to the finals." You know what I mean?
Right. But you need a
Like
LeBron to make that work.
right, and we didn't, and you were just
Yeah.
like, "What if we got this old guy?" And like we got
Yeah.
him, and it's like, cool, I guess he's better than the guy you had, but it wasn't worth the draft picks you just
Yeah.
gave away for it.
It's like I saw a lot of parallels between that one and the Lakers after Kobe's fifth championship. Like both videos are like they would be like, oh, their star needs help. Let's trade away like a boatload of picks and get this old guy. Like both of them were the exact same. Like whether it was Dwight or just a bunch of randos, where it has been shown that you kind of have to be successful. Like either whether you're the Warriors or the Lakers now, you have to draft well and get a couple of good stars. And then you have to trade for somebody big, or you have to hope that they come in free agency, like LeBron or KD, right?
Right.
And I feel like that's where the Thunder went wrong, and we will talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, I feel like the Knicks just kind of they haven't gotten to the Lakers now phase of their stuff, where like they haven't signed like a big free agent to go along with any sort of good draft picks, which they haven't had luck with either.
Right, because one, nobody wants to come play for James Dolan. Two, we we trade away all our good draft picks, and then three, finally the year we were like, we're gonna get Zion. We got fucking R.J. Barrett. Like
Yeah.
for me, it was like going into that draft. I looked at it and it was like pick number one is a definite win. Pick number two is a definite win, and it was like if you don't make those two, you got a bunch of fucking nonsense
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Like there's a clear drop off between Zion Williamson and John Morant, and then the rest of the field.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and it
we
sucks
got
because
screwed on
I
that.
remember seeing those visual or like those fucking Photoshop pictures, and it was like KD and Kyrie and Zion all in
Yeah.
Knicks
Oh my
uniforms.
god. You know how good that. We got R.J. Barrett and nothing. We got R.J.
Yeah.
Barrett and a bunch of fucking nothing.
But yeah, the series as a whole is really good. There's some episodes that I'm like, well, is it a collapse? Like they did a collapse on the two Giants championships, and I'm like, if you win two championships, you kind of aren't collapsing. You're just kind of coming back down to normal. Like
Right. Like
eh.
every championship team isn't a dynasty. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, for the Mavericks, for the 2011 Mavericks, I was kind of like, well, maybe because they did fuck up a bunch of stuff, which is an episode that they do. But then for the two Giants, I'm like, dude, I would fucking kill for a collapse a collapse that's two championships. Yeah, I'll take that any day of the
with
week.
fucking Eli Manning.
With Eli Manning, like, dude, like two championships within like a 5 year window. Are you kidding me? I would, yeah, dude, I'll take 20 years of shit after that if that's what it gets me. So
Hold on.
some of the episodes they feel a little bit of stretch. There's like a Tiger Woods one which I haven't watched. There's like a couple of baseball ones that I haven't watched yet that I'm kind of just been putting off. But overall, the series is super entertaining. And um, I was telling Tyler that what I think is really cool or that I like that it does is that it sort of takes like this macro sort of or this sort of like long fucking thing that happens over time and just compresses it. So, like we were talking about the Thunder, right? It's like
Right.
they went from being in the finals in 2012. Russ, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden are all. I think they're all 23 or younger, or 22 or younger,
Right.
and so you're like, these guys are going to be back. And then they sort of started to break off from time, and then they got hurt, or they each one of them left, and then they won MVPs after they split up, and it all sort of happened over my life, like over like the last 10 years. But then you don't sort of see how big of a collapse it was until somebody goes, no, look here, I'll show you who left, who the Thunder traded away for, or who they drafted that didn't work out. And
Right.
it's just super interesting how it's all just compressed.
Right. It's no different than like you see like pictures of yourself in like high school, and you're like, I never noticed that I changed that much because
Right.
it happened over the course of 10 years. But
Exactly.
like
Yep. Yep.
to say in 10 years you went from this to this, it feels like a drastic, like fucking holy shit. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same thing with that. Like, at the time it doesn't. Like, obviously you can't keep all those guys, and the answer is they kept Serge Ibaka instead of James Harden, and so James Harden left
Yeah.
basically. And then Russell Westbrook and Katie didn't really jive, and then like all these little things kind of happened where in the
Mm-hmm.
moment it's like they all kind of feel like their own separate issue, but
Right.
then you come bring it into such a small span of time when you're
Mm-hmm.
watching it in like 10 minutes and be like, look, like really it was only like a year between
Yeah.
these two things, and it was only like 2 years between these two things, but because you're watching 82 games of basketball and there's all these other storylines going on at the same time, you don't realize how much like each decision impacted the next thing that happened a year or two later.
Right. Yep, yep, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, another thing that I really like that the show does is that they'll be like, they traded player A for, or they traded away their draft picks in 2012, 2013, 2014 for player A. But if you go back, you'll see that with those picks, they pick these shitty players when these great players were picked ahead. And they'll pick, like, this guy was picked ahead of Klay Thompson or Kawhi Leonard, right? And it's just like, it sort of just puts into perspective something that I talked about many episodes ago, where, sometimes winning a championship is equal luck as it is skill.
Right.
Like if I forget who it was that would have. Oh, like the Pistons in '05, right? Or in '03, right? Like those Pistons that won the championship a year later. Like if they draft Melo instead of, I forget who they drafted. The guy
uh
from Europe,
yeah, I can't remember his
Darko
name.
Darko Milicic, right?
Right.
Like if they draft Melo instead of Milicic, like that changes everything. It's like that compounded, over the course of many years. But yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm
Hmm.
sending you something right now, and I'm gonna need you to check your phone.
Okay.
This is a perfect example. Sorry, I just thought of it, and like we started talking about the Thunder, but I'm going back to the Knicks again,
Hmm.
which is that if you look at this list, if you scroll down, like starting at like 2000, right? Like we've been bad for a very long time, and then if you look at how high these picks are, this shit is devastating.
Dude, I have no idea who these people are.
Well, not even that. It's just look like we've never had that high of picks. Like we had like 9, 7, and 8, but like then you have like fucking 20th pick, then the 23rd, then the 38th. We fucking 2010 we didn't have a round one pick. 2012 we didn't have a round one pick. It's like we just
Yeah.
trade away all of our shit and get
And then,
nothing.
and then none of these picks. The highest pick I see here is R.J. Barrett at 3.
Yeah. And then the next best one is Chris Stapps at 4. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then the rest of it's like just shit that didn't work out. Like,
See, and I thought, dude, I thought Kevin Knox was gonna be. I mean, there's still time on him, of course, but I thought he
right.
was gonna be like, hit the ground running type guy. But some of these players aren't that bad. Like Tim Hardaway Jr., but then again, they get good at other places. Like Tim
Yeah.
Hardaway was great. He's good in Dallas. Iman Shumpert was good in Cleveland. Uh, Gallinari was great.
Yeah,
Channing
Gallinari got
Frye,
great in
David
Denver.
Lee, Trevor Ariza, like these guys that panned out, they just didn't pan out on the Knicks.
Right, and the answer might be because they couldn't have panned out on the Knicks. You know what I mean? Like that's not even a fault of that's not even a fault of timing. I don't think. I don't think it's a matter of like oh they got good after they left. I think it's like they got good because they left. Boy, that's
Mhm.
just a depressing list to look at. Bro, we drafted Ronaldo Balkman in round 1 at some point. This is just fucking hurts my soul. All right. Yeah, so now that I'm done feeling terrible about myself, yeah. So what's next on it? Oh, Mulan.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Mulan, the live action adaptation of the animated movie from the 90s that was supposed to come out back in March, it was pushed to Disney Plus by Disney. But it's not just premiering on Disney Plus like Hamilton or like I don't know like an older Disney movie. They're actually gonna ask people to pay on top of the $7 a month. They're asking them to pay $29.99 to I believe own it. I want to double check that, but I'll check in a moment. But I believe it's to own it, not just to rent. And so this I think is huge because for the longest time it was like sort of like, oh, these smaller movies, they'll get pushed to HBO Max or Hulu or Netflix or Disney Plus, whatever. Like Hamilton got pushed to a streaming service. The King of Long Island got pushed to like VOD, and like
Right.
American Pickle, the one that just came out with Seth Rogen on HBO Max, that one got pushed. It was going to be like in theaters, but it was always sort of assumed that the big blockbusters were going to stay in theaters, like no matter what.
Right.
Mulan was always going to be in theaters. Black Widow and all the other movies that keep getting pushed, Tenant, they're going to stay in theaters. So this is huge, or maybe not. It could not be huge. So it depends on how it does, right? So it's premiering on September 4th, like over Labor Day weekend, and it depends to see if this is just like an outlier where there was a situation where Disney just could not keep pushing it for more and more. I'm sure there was a tipping point where it was like, well, if we release it here, it'll make more money than if we keep pushing it and spending money on the push.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I can't imagine this being a full paradigm shift. Like $30 is a lot to ask someone to just sit in their house and watch it.
it is, yeah, it is. But I feel like it's a lot. But then when I go, okay, well, it depends on the movie, right? So if you have like a big blockbuster movie, like what was going to be huge for kids this year? Like the Minions. There was going to be like a third, either I think a second Minions or a fourth Despicable Me, whatever, like that franchise. There was
Right.
going to be one this summer. So I think if that gets pushed to HBO Max or whatever with an extra little bit more cash, I think that, I mean, that's worth it for parents, because if you
Right.
got two kids, they love Despicable Me, you pay $30, that's, you got food at home, that's cheaper by like $30 than what you would have been paying.
Yeah, I
But for
think I could
something,
see it for kids movies
yeah,
specifically because
yeah,
you're buying all those extra tickets, and then aside from that, like the bringing kids to the movie theaters, I have to imagine, unless you're like don't give a shit, it's got to be like a little stressful. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like if
yep,
I decided to bring Julian to a movie theater, like once he's a little older, it's gonna be a matter of like the moment he starts acting up, like we're just gonna leave and I'm gonna waste that money. You know what I mean? Because I'm
yeah,
not going to ruin this for everyone else. Now there
right,
are totally people who just let their kid fucking cry and
yeah,
be awful, but like that would be you're more willing to take that chance if it's $30 and if something goes wrong I can pause it or if
right,
something
right.
goes wrong, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, you can possibly take a snack, or like if they're getting antsy, they can take a nap and then you can come back to it. Yeah.
right. So that would make sense. But I think anything that's even remotely geared towards like not kids,
Hmm.
I think that kind of money is still a large ask because it's still a movie theater. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like if you're gonna spend the same amount, like I'd much rather do it at a movie theater.
Right. Right.
Unless you're the type, unless you have so much money that like you have like a full theater set up at your house, in
Hmm.
which case like this isn't really an issue for you anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, dude, like I mean, like I bought a sound bar, right? And I have like I think my TV is like 55 inches, and like so I have a setup that's okay, right? Like I'm not just watching it on a laptop or in my room, but it's just not the same, right? Like it's just
right?
not
It's
the same
absolutely
as
not.
watching it in a theater, like no matter what. So it's it'll be interesting to see sort of what happens if they make enough money or not. Like I mean, I'll probably buy it just because I really do want to see it, and I heard great reviews before it came out because I think they had the premiere was like just before everything got shut down.
Sorry.
So it'll be interesting to see for me, like if like after I pay like $30, if I'm like, yeah, that was worth it, or like if I was like, damn, I got fucking screwed out of $30, like what the hell.
The other
So
thing is that 30. There's a chance that even $30 right now will be worth it, and then $30 a year from now when things are sorted out better and movie theaters are open, it's not. You know what I mean?
right.
That's the other thing. It's like $30 might be worth it right now because there's no other way for you to watch that movie.
Right, right. And I'll always, 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 I will always take the upcharge. if it means the theater. So like if it changes everything and movies are coming out at the same time as theaters, and at home it's $3, in the theater it's 10, I'll just take that extra 10 and like I'll be like, I got a better service for it, right? Like I got
Right.
something out of it. It's kind of like how we were talking Hamilton, going to see it on Broadway or in a theater, and then or watching it at home. Like it's not the same thing to me at all,
Right.
right?
Right. And I don't think it is for anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't. That's why I don't foresee this being like a full long term like paradigm shift in
Yeah.
any real sort of way. Um, but if it opens up an option, you know what I mean? If there's an
Hmm.
option where it opens in theaters and also at home, then like I guess that can't really hurt anything. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's just that's not something I'd want. If somehow that took over and theaters died out because of it, I'd be very like upset. You know what I mean? Like because it's
Hmm.
not the same.
Yeah, and then like and then they say that they're gonna release it in theaters eventually or in some other countries, but like so. Is it just because we fucked up the coronavirus response?
It could be.
Yeah.
I saw a chart. I don't know who retweeted it on Twitter. It was just like a map of the United States, and it was like green if you're trending positive, yellow if it's like reason to be cautious, which kind of to me sounds like you can't really tell either way,
Hmm.
and then like light like regular red if it's trending poorly, and like dark red if it's trending really bad, and
Hmm.
like I didn't count it, but I'm gonna say at least like 30 to 35 states were dark red, like 10 were red, and
Yeah,
there were
and
like
then
two green ones and like three yellow ones. It's like
yeah,
fuck, dude, we have fucked this up so bad.
yeah. Yeah. But I'm reading the Disney CEO's sort of press release thing, and he says that it's a one-off. Like he says that this is not how they're gonna go. Like everything else will be in theaters, like Black Widow and whatever else they had coming out this November. But then again, they said that Mulan wasn't gonna be on Disney Plus no matter what, like 2 months ago. So it
Right,
shows you how quickly things can change. Like if shit's
exactly.
still bad in 2 months, I mean, like Black Widow's gonna be there on Thanksgiving
Right.
or whatever. Yeah, but it just sucks, dude. Because I'm like I was excited to see this one in theaters. I love going to the movies. Um, it's probably I'm gonna go ahead and say more than sports and concerts and just being outside or whatever. Um, and restaurants. Like movies are probably like the thing that I just kind of like miss the most because like we're movie theaters because like
Right.
every week I would like go on the cheap Tuesday nights. So like my Regal that's like 5 minutes away from my house. On Tuesdays they have $5 nights. So you just buy a ticket and it's $5 and like that's it. And so like me and like between like 5 to 10 of my friends, we would go and just watch whatever fucking movie came out. And usually the movies were good or they were solid. But it was like sort of like
Even if it turned out shitty, it was only $5. So
it was only
like,
$5. And even if it was shitty, when we came out of the theater, I could be like, guys, what did you think? Oh, it was shitty. All right, that was such a shit when they did this. Like, who does that, right? You have like
right,
it forms like a communal experience just from watching a shitty movie. Or if it was great, you're like, God, that was amazing. That was so good, right?
right.
But now that's gone. So it sucks. And I would have loved to have done that with Mulan or Black Widow and definitely Tenant, which would have already been out a month at this point. But it sucks. And I hope they make it through, but who knows?
Yeah. It does suck. I never watched that many movies, just because the theater here in Asheville is not great.
Yeah.
And
It's only 7 screens, too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also like the movies they choose to show on it are very odd.
Yeah.
Like I guess well, I take that back. It's not odd. If I look at the general population and demographic that is Asheville, I feel like they're picking the right movies for the to make the most money. It's just not the demographic that I fall into.
Yeah.
Um, but like it was always like a trip up to Greensboro. You know what I mean for us.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, now with Julian, like it's usually not too bad. Like I usually have somebody that can watch them if we needed to,
Hmm.
but it's it's just not on. It's not on our priority list. You know what I mean to like go watch a
Yeah.
movie now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think once he gets older, if it's something that he likes, I think that's always fun. Like, taking a new
Or
kid to see.
even when he's older, it's not. I don't feel as bad about getting someone else to watch him. You know what I mean? Like right now, he's like one,
Oh,
and all
right.
he's doing is running around and yanking shit off walls. You know what I mean? Like if someone watches him for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, I'm like, I know that person by the end of that 3 hours has got to be like, I'm fucking done with this kid. Like if I'm the only one watching him for three
Uh,
hours, by the end of 3 hours, I'm like, I think I'm fucking done with this kid. Like, he's like just yanking
I'm
everything
just
he
gonna go
can.
drop him off at the fire department and be like, have fun.
Hey, can you guys watch him for a little bit? That's cool. I'm heading out. I'll be back. Um, nah, I
Well,
mean, go ahead.
no, sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I really wasn't gonna say much of anything. I was just gonna double down on that. So like, it hasn't been a priority for us as far as going to the movies.
Hmm.
Because we since it's up in Greensboro, we always kind of just made a date out of it. You know what I mean? Went and
Yeah,
grabbed something to eat, went to the movies,
yeah,
um, and also stuff like because of that and the price and everything, it was like we only went for movies that we were both very interested in. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So like Mulan is not something I would have went to a theater for anyways.
Hmm.
Um, Kaylin probably would have wanted to because she loves Mulan. I never really watched it as a kid. I don't think
Hmm.
so. I have like no nostalgia for it.
Yeah,
Um, and what's weird is that this movie could be good just completely on its own, but like because it's just a remake, I view it through the lens of like this is for people who already watched the first one. Like,
yeah. It's like the Beauty and the Beast one and all those. But I do think that this one was, just from what I thought and what like sort of what I could see from the trailers and stuff, it looked like it was at least different enough that it wasn't just like The Lion King or the one I just mentioned, Beauty and the Beast, right? It was at least different enough that it wasn't just like a straight remake of
right.
one of those. Um, what was the last movie you saw in theaters? You think?
Last movie I saw in theaters. I'm fucking terrible at this. God, I really we go so infrequently that like
Yeah.
the one I remember the most, just because it was so great in movie theaters, is definitely not the last one we saw.
Uh,
Was I remember seeing Baby Driver in theaters and that was amazing. The what's the horror esque movie that came out with? It's a girl, like a woman, young woman getting married, and the family's crazy with the
oh,
board games and cards or whatever.
Ready or Not.
Ready or Not, that one was really good. That one might be the most recent one. I feel like that came out pretty recently.
Yeah, that was last August, and then
Okay,
we went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that was last July.
yeah, okay, so yeah, we went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So it was probably that one, and then we saw Ready or Not, and I don't think we went to another movie
After that,
after that before, and then
gotcha.
everything cracked down. But that's a solid two movies to watch.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah.
was very pleased with Ready or Not. I was like, the trailers I wasn't sure
Hmm.
about it. It kind of just seemed like a stereotypical one of those movies.
Yeah,
Um, and then I'd read good reviews about it, and I was like, all right, well, horror is one of those where like I feel like if it's anything less than great, it gets shitty reviews. Like a horror movie that's just average gets terrible reviews. You know what I mean? Like there's some action movies I feel like that can just be average and just get average reviews, but horror movies it's either like a fucking 90% on Rotten Tomatoes or a fucking 10.
hmm,
So it got good reviews, and so I went and watched it, and it was really good.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
yeah.
think yeah, my last one was the Ben Affleck, the baseball coach or basketball coach movie, The Way Back. It
Oh
came out
yeah.
like in March. Like that was the last one. Although I don't know if I want to make that my last one, like in my mind, just because it was
I
just
was about to say that
okay.
didn't seem very good to me. That seemed like a weird version. Like he's just trying real hard to be Coach Carter. Like this is what it
Yeah,
seemed like.
like it was just okay. So I'm gonna go with the one I saw before that one as like my last movie quote I saw in theaters, and it was The Invisible Man. So I'll make
Oh,
it
I
that.
did watch The Invisible Man. That was probably the last one. Then
Oh,
we
okay, yeah.
watched The Invisible Man in theaters.
Then that was it. Yeah, because that one was like a week before I watched The Way Back, and The Way Back was like literally like 2 days before everything went to shit. So
Okay, yeah, we definitely watched The Invisible Man in theaters. That was
yeah,
really good. Also,
that's a good one. That's a good one to end
yeah,
it on,
yeah,
right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Damn. All right. Yeah, came out clutch, dude. That one was really good. It was an interesting take on it, and like it. I remember when that movie came out, there were people saying that like some people were saying that it lost some of like the I don't know. They were saying it lost something out of us knowing that there was actually a guy the whole time.
Let's see, but
Um,
I like that.
right, and then I saw another, and I was like, yeah, I could see where that would add a different layer to it. You know what I mean? Like if we
Yeah,
didn't know, but
yeah.
then I saw another person that was like saying, like we already have enough of those movies. Like we already have enough of the movies where it's this person. Like we can't tell. Like if this woman's just crazy. You know what I mean? Like it that's like worn out really kind of at this point, and it adds like a different level of suspense that people don't believe her, and rightfully so. Like she's not lying, but you also understand why other people would be like, "You're insane."
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
and so you get to know, but still understand why everyone's acting the way they are.
Right. No, yeah, I totally agree. I see. I like that. I don't know if have we talked about it on here before. I think we might have, or maybe I was talking to my girlfriend Sydney about it.
I don't
But
think we've talked about it on here before, but um, either way, we'll
but
rehash it. I don't care.
yeah, I mean, I like that in that movie because in most ghost movies, right? Because it's basically like a ghost movie. Like
Right.
shit moves, and you're like, oh my god, something moved. Did you see that? Did you see that? It's like a fucking what was that movie?
Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal Activity, right? It's like that. Except so, like for me, whenever I watch those movies, it's creepy and it's scary. But then you go, what is the ghost trying to do, right? Like, what is the limit of the ghost powers? Is it only at night? And if it can move shit during the day, why doesn't it just kill the people, right? Like the
Right.
fucking like the what are the movie? The Conjuring, right?
Yeah.
Like the family's in the house, and then like the clown, the fucking ghost goes and like scares the mom by clapping, or like it like picks up a girl and throws her across the room, and it's like, yeah, that's like scary because it is freaky to see that, but it's like, well, what is the ghost trying to achieve, right?
Right.
But for this one, you know that it's a person,
Yeah.
and you know that it's a dude that wants to hurt her and make her feel like she's going crazy. So it makes total sense when you're seeing this, because it makes sense why he's doing that. Like you're like, you get the motivation like that. You see that he's a fucking crazy guy, and he's gonna torture her because you know that he's a real person that just happens to be invisible.
Right. And that what's funny? The Invisible Man. Hold on. Let me Google something before I sound like an asshole. And I'm just blatantly wrong. So Invisible Man runtime. It's 2 hours. So
Yeah.
that's not bad. It's not like a super long one. It's not short, but like I think that's another one that kind of benefits from what we talked about with Palm Springs, where it's like people will buy into a time loop movie, right? Like
Right.
this one, they didn't need to characterize the villain
Mm.
or even really the main character super hard, because the opening scene of her like being scared to
Mm.
like that her, I think they're married, right, husband, being scared that her
Yeah.
husband will wake up and figure out she's trying to leave, and then
Mm.
all the lengths that she has to go to make things, you know what I mean, like the lengths to which she's going and the amount of fear there, I think characterizes really everything you need to know about
Right.
either of the characters in like a 5 minute span.
Exactly, and not like a word is said, right? It's all
Right.
silent. It's all just like in like stares, or like when she drops something and makes a noise, like, and she like reacts to it. It seems like somebody just like punched her in the gut. Like she's like terrified
Right, like it's if
when that
she makes
happens.
a noise, it's like
Yeah,
she's like this could end everything, and
yeah,
then like and then you get the different level where like I think like the dog starts barking and the alarms start going off, and
yep,
it's like overdrive fear. So like you get the extra level of like, now this is a fucking problem. Like
yeah.
you need
You
to get the
see
fuck
what?
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if she's this scared, this guy is like a fucking monster, and you see all the security shit and the cameras and shit. You're like, oh shit, she's like in a prison pretty much.
Right.
So I think that, yeah, that's like super efficient, and it's so good because you could have easily had like a scene where, she's talking to a friend. He's like, for like 10 minutes, me like, he does this, he does that. I'm
Right.
terrified,
You
but
could, you
you
could
don't.
have a bunch of exposition to like
Yeah,
give all these awful things he's done and the way she didn't deserve them and blah
yeah,
blah blah. But like you don't need that. All you need like is the emotion behind it, and it's
yeah,
filmed super well, and it gives off everything. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So it's like
It's all show don't tell kind of shit.
right, exactly, and,
Yeah,
and that works. And I think that one didn't feel super long either. You know what I mean?
yeah, right.
That one
Yep,
never
yep.
felt like it was dragging on, and I think it's because like that definitely could have helped. You know what I mean? Like you could shave 15 minutes off your fucking runtime by just like, let's just do this part efficiently, and we
Yeah,
can skip all this other exposition just to like flesh out characters. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, and that's another one, kind of like Palm Springs, where like I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but I will say, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me, and that by the end something happens. She does something,
Yep.
and you kind of go like, I don't know, like that's not really believable. But the movie has done such a good job that you're it's kind of playing with house money that you just go, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
I'll accept it, I'll take it.
Right. Absolutely. And again, like this is my go-to is that I'm a person with limited experience, life experience and experiences of that kind. And maybe that is believable. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
maybe
Well,
I
yeah,
don't find
that's
it
true.
believable, but maybe that's something that makes sense in the grand scheme of things if I had
Yeah.
been in those shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, like, how, yeah, I totally agree. And like we said a couple weeks ago about that one game you were talking about, The Invisible Man, I think, isn't like it's a great movie. Like, it's not an all time, like, amazing movie, but it's the best version of that movie you could possibly make, I
Right.
think.
Yep.
Like, it's not a 10 out of 10, it's not an 8 out of 10, it's an 8 out of 8.
Right. I wasn't going for 10. I just want like you know
Right.
what I mean? Like I wasn't trying to
I'm
redefine
just doing like
the
a fucking
genre.
lean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I have these notes I want to hit and I fucking nailed them and that's all you needed. And this came out
Exactly.
great.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
And that's
But
one that I could fucking call an 80 and still be 100% on Rotten Tomatoes because they don't fucking rate things. They just aggregate the
exactly.
good
They just
ratings.
aggregate things. Yes, it's fresh. That's all you need to know. It's not 100 fresh. It's not 100 on Metacritic. It's just fresh.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just a solid tomato. Jesus. But speaking of things that are tomatoes that might be rotten, I want to jump to sort of something that we talked about last week about rappers that didn't quite make it. But this
Right.
week I wanted to touch on athletes that didn't quite make it. Specifically, athletes that you thought were going to be huge either because you saw them in college or because they had like a good rookie year or two, and you were like, God, this guy's gonna just fucking just go off, and he's gonna be awesome. Um, and so, do you have any or like
Yeah.
do you, yeah.
So let's see. All right, so I'm gonna start with I'm gonna. Here's the deal. I was never super into sports in general until high school. Really,
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't follow them super close to middle school and like just kind of knew names at that point. But like I remember thinking Matt Leinart was supposed to be the next coming of God. Like
Yep. Yep.
Matt
Same.
Leinart was a monster in college from what I remember or heard, and then like just just something I don't know what happened. He just didn't translate at all.
Yeah.
Like he was
Yeah.
bad the
I
moment he got there. Right? He was at the Cardinals, right?
Yes, yes, he got drafted by the Cardinals, I think in '06
Right, and then he had his job taken by
by fucking Kurt
Kurt Warner,
Warner.
right?
Yeah, like a year or two later. Yeah. And there's that like picture of him in the jacuzzi with the girls, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck, man. It's what I'm partying. I'm USC." It's interesting that you pick him first because my first pick in this sort of or the person
Oh
that comes
yeah,
to mind immediately is his teammate Reggie Bush, and I feel like him and Leinart are both like the patron saints of just like, wait, what the hell happened? Kind of like situation.
right. And I think what's funny to me is that this is uh it doesn't change the amount of confusion that goes into it, or maybe it changes the amount of confusion, but it doesn't change like the level. I don't really know how to explain it. What I'm going to say is it's still just as much of a shock to me that it went as poorly as it did, but at least with Matt Leinart, like quarterbacks just straight up don't work in the NFL a lot. Like there's a lot of quarterbacks who are great in college and just don't work out to the NFL because
Yeah. Yeah.
the step up in like complexity of defenses and stuff is like so next level that
Right.
that
Like they figure
in
you
the
out
pace of
after
the
like a year
game.
or two. Yeah.
Right, right. So like it makes there are a lot of quarterbacks that just don't work out. You know what I mean? So like you can say like Matt Leinart definitely should have worked out, but like he just at the end of the day he just ends up on this list with a bunch of other quarterbacks that like were great in college and just
Yeah.
had no chance in the NFL.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush, I still don't know why he wasn't great. Like he's
Well,
fast.
I was gonna say before you move on from Leinart, he also he is the topic of one of the best lines in hip hop. I think got a Trojan in my pocket, Matt
Oh
Leinart.
yeah. Who
uh,
says that line? I'm drawing a blank.
Cy the
Oh
Prince
yeah,
and so appalled.
yeah.
Plus a Trojan in my pocket, Matt Leinart,
G18 with the
in the
Pathfinder. Okay.
Pathfinder.
Yeah, but Yeah, Matt Liner is a tagline on a great hip hop line by a terrible rapper. But
Apparently, he snuck verse on that song, and like they just kind of left it in. It was kind of
really,
like, oh yeah, he was just kind of he. I think he was supposed to be like the person who was supposed to pass it from one person to another to Kanye, or reverse that,
yeah,
and he just snuck his verse on there, and then they just never took it off.
that lines up. That lines up because that list of artists, I'm so appalled. It's what? It's Jay Z, Kanye,
Pusha
Pusha
T.
T, and then Sci the Prince. And I
Yeah.
remember every time I was like, "Are we sure?" Like you know how sometimes you'll see a song on YouTube and it'll be the song, and then like just the guy who uploaded it just like throw his verse at the end, and it like
Yeah.
it'll say like so appalled Kanye West, Pusha T, Jay Z, and then fucking like anonymous rapper fucking 58 on YouTube. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
looks like an official track listing. Like the
Mm-hmm.
whole time I was like, are we sure that like when I downloaded this album that like I
That it
didn't
was
get
yeah. I do like I like that line, and I like the line with the girl. You know,
Yeah.
where he says,
Found out
"I
about
met
April,
this."
so she chose to march.
Yeah, yeah. I met this girl on Valentine's Day. Fucked her in May. She found out about April, so she chose to march. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
But I remember reading a thing that says like there's a lot of God, what is it? It was like a lot of Kanye's lines recently, and I'm not gonna say recent. I guess maybe not recently, like since he had his full blown fucking uh, episode.
Yeah,
Um,
since he died horrifically in a hang gliding accident in 2016. R.I.P. to Kanye. They never found his body.
but before that, where his lyrics were starting to go downhill, like I remember reading that Sahai the Prince was ghostwriting a lot of these lines for him, and I was like, that lines up. That lines up that Sahai the Prince is ghostwriting for him, and now he's got lines about like bleaching his shirt via a girl's asshole. Like that lines
Yeah.
up to me.
Yeah.
I was trying to find an example of it like online that I could at least point to, but I couldn't. But like I do remember reading that. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's fact checked, but I do remember. But Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush, dude. Oh well, before it's still on Matt Leinart real quick. So here are his stats. So in 2016, he gets drafted. He starts 11 games, right? And you're like, okay, they gave him some time,
Right.
you know. And then down the stretch, he had 11 touchdowns, 2,500 yards, but 12 picks. Yeesh. And you're like, okay, well then 2007, he'll be better. Nope, dude started 5 games, played 5 before. I guess he was benched or he got hurt. He had 600 yards, 2
Ooh.
touchdowns, 4 picks. 2
Bro.
touchdowns over 5 games.
2 touchdowns, and so that means his average stat line had to have been roughly
100 and some
110
change.
yards.
Yep, yep.
Like coin flip if he's gonna get a touchdown that game, but he's definitely throwing one pick.
Yep. And then by 2008, he didn't start any because Kurt Warner took over and took him to the Super Bowl.
How bad do you have to, bro? You are like the number one pick. I don't know if he actually was the number one pick, but
He was.
he was. Okay,
Yeah.
you were the number one pick. You're the heir apparent.
Oh, no. Sorry. He was the 10th overall. Sorry.
10th overall. Okay. Either way, you're a big name quarterback that everyone's expecting to succeed. You come in, you're like heir apparent. You're playing for the Cardinals, and then within 2 years, you're fucking sitting out, and this old ass fucking decrepit dude who has already had his prime come and go brings your team to the Super Bowl.
Uh-huh. God. I can't even imagine. Because Kurt Warner was really good, and it just sucks that it had to be him, and, you know, he never got his chance to get the job back, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I have to think that that word got out. You know what I mean? I have to think that like he was still in training camp or in practices and stuff, and just still not working out. And everyone was like, I don't think that one's gonna work regardless of team or situation. I just don't think it's gonna work.
So it's them two, and then on to Reggie. I mean, Reggie Bush, I think we talked about. I think he had a solid career in terms of somebody like that would be like Darren Sproles, right?
Right.
Like a guy
Except-
who like catches it out of the backfield, returns it here or there.
Except Darren Sproles had a better career than Reggie Bush, and
Yeah,
Reggie Bush was
yeah.
fucking Reggie Bush.
Right, dude. That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, except Reggie Bush was supposed to be fucking Jesus football, right? Like he was supposed to be like, 2,000 yards, first dude to get 2,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. Like he was gonna be the next big thing, right? And he comes out. I'll give you his
It's too
rushing
bad he never
yards.
won the Heisman.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. That was the year that the Heisman Trophy winner died in a hang gliding accident. They never found his body.
Rest in peace, Reggie Bush.
Rest in peace to that other Reggie Bush. Reggie P. Bush. So, I mean, he won a Super Bowl. I mean, he won a Super Bowl with New Orleans.
Yeah.
His rushing yards were 500, 500, 400, 300, 150, which I'm guessing he got hurt. But then he had 1,000 yards, 986, and then another 1,000. But those were with Miami. So he was like serviceable toward like the back end, but
Right.
he wasn't what people thought he was going to be.
Right. There's no reason in my head that coming out of college he couldn't have been Christian McCaffrey. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And it's like, what happened?
Right. Yes. McCaffrey, or who's another guy that's sort of like shifty that turned out to be really good, like LaShawn McCoy, maybe.
LaShawn McCoy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he did not really turn into that at all.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Do
Do you want to do one more guy, and we can both talk about him?
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to guess who I want to talk about?
I'm gonna guess it's Manziel.
Yes. Well, there's Victor Cruz here, but I feel like we can just touch on him super quick. He basically just got hurt a lot.
Yeah, and then I'm going to touch on one super quick that was on my list, which is Trent Richardson, which just turned into a pile of dog shit.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what happened. He came out the combine, was fucking jacked. Bro, he is like the most stout-looking human I've ever seen in my life. He ran a good 40, if I'm not mistaken. And then, like, just came into I drafted him in fantasy football. I was like, this dude's going to be the fucking... Oh, he's going to win me this league. And nothing.
No.
Your stat. Give me your stat.
Oh, his career long rush is shorter than Peyton Manning's career long rush, which is insane.
Fucking terrible. Trent Richardson should be ashamed that Peyton Manning, carrying all 55 pounds of weight in his head, with his giant forehead, was able to outrun him.
Yeah, so I always remember. So Peyton Manning's career long rush was 33 yards. Trent Richardson's career run was 32.
Oh God, that's embarrassing.
Yikes. So I always remember him in college because I think he won the Heisman, right? I
think so.
I think it was Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, and then Derrick Henry were the ones that won the Heisman for Alabama. I think.
And then Mark Ingram is good.
Is good. Yeah, he's been pretty good.
Derrick Henry's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trent Richardson just shit the bed, bro. He just let Alabama down.
Dude, I always remember that juke he had against, I think it was Ole Miss, where he's running on the sidelines. And, dude, he literally is going like 15 miles per hour, stops on a fucking like dime, and the defender's like legs just collapse. And like, I'm gonna see if I can find it. Like, talk about Trent for a little bit.
Trent Richardson jukes poor Ole Miss defensive back into smithereens to score a touchdown. That's the title of the video.
Yeah,
You see? Oh, let me watch.
Yeah, dude, you gotta watch it. Yeah. So he's running. He runs to the right. Straight up the middle, and then he cuts to the right. And if I remember correctly, yeah. Okay. So he's running to the right, and then you'll see it in 1 second. Hold on.
Oh.
Dude, you gotta see it here. Like,
what kills me so much is that why he like jukes the dude is like behind him and to the left. Like, why did he even take the time to destroy that man?
Go back to search and look. There should be like a one that's like 1 minute and 8 seconds long. Oh wait, no, yeah, and you'll see it from the sideline camera, which is even more devastating, dude. Or maybe I think it's this one. Let me see it. Hold on, I'm watching it now. Thrilling podcast content. Yeah, it's that one. You see it? You watching it?
Hold on, I'm looking it up now. Jukes Ole Miss, right?
Yeah, it's like Trent Richardson's shake on old.
Yeah.
All right, so you can jump ahead to like 50 seconds.
Okay.
And while you watch that, I'll like talk about him. So so he was gonna be the next big thing, and then he just kind of shit the bed and didn't quite make it. Not like Derrick Henry.
Right. How does that happen? Also, it's the same system. It's Alabama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if it's going to translate from one dude... Oh. Yeah! I Again, that defender is behind him and to the left. He stops, jab steps like backwards. That defender is so scared. He like falls backwards. And he just keeps running straight.
Dude, why did Richardson do that? Like, why'd
you take the time out of your day to ruin that
man's
life?
There was no need to, because you don't have to juke back. You could literally just like stiff arm him, and he just.
Yeah, Trent Richardson had to have had a vendetta against that
Yeah,
dude. It was like, I'm making you look bad in the film room next week. Like,
dude, that's like one of the best jukes like I've ever seen. It's up there with the Braxton Miller spin move. Do you remember that one from the VT game? Here, look it up real quick.
More riveting podcast.
More riveting. Yeah, you gotta look at this Braxton Miller
spin move. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember him from? He was at Ohio State.
Ohio State. All right.
There's an ad, I'm sure.
No, I didn't get it. Oh, yo.
Yeah, you never seen that before?
That dude dove full speed.
Yeah, dude. He that is the greatest spin move you'll ever see. Look, I'm gonna play with the audio.
Miller in the shotgun. Gets free on the air. Braxton Miller's loose.
Woo! Ooh! That's a bad man. Yeah.
But yeah, so Trent Richardson just didn't pan out in the NFL. But the one we want to talk about is Manziel.
Yes. So, because I thought he was gonna be like a scrambler, right? Like a fucking Brett Favre. Like he was gonna run, but he was gonna be able to slide, like a Michael Vick. I mean, no, not Mike. I mean, no. Whatever. I literally, the words came out of my mouth, and I was literally like, "What the fuck?"
Tried to grab him out of the
air. I was like,
no.
Nope. That is like, you know how Bomani Jones has two Americas? That's like a two Americas.
Yeah, you just you tried so hard to pull that back in.
I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever said. But I thought he was gonna be pretty good.
He turned off his microphone and walked out the room. Yo, you walked in with that statement like the fucking Simpsons shift where his dad walks
Abe Simpson
down and grabs it and like walks back out. You're like, Johnny Manziel's gonna be the next Michael Vick. Then you pick that hat back up and leave.
Yeah, I immediately knew what I said was fucking stupid. But I thought he was gonna be good, and the thing is, he is somebody who I remember watching him before he was even like super famous, because I remember so fucking vividly. It was my sophomore year of college. I was in like our living room area with my roommate Zach, and we were up early to watch like the noon games, and the noon game starts in Texas A&M. And they were playing, I think it was LSU, or it was like a shitty team or somebody, because it was like week 1. And they were like, he's the redshirt freshman quarterback for Texas A&M. He's Johnny Manziel. And they were like, he's Johnny Manziel. I was like,
next Michael Vick?
The next Michael Vick, they said. So it said around these parts of Texas down here. And they put up his high school stats. And they were like, this man threw for 80 yards and rushed, or not 80 yards, 80 touchdowns.
I was going to say, all right, Matt Liner.
He threw for 80 touchdowns, and he ran for 80 touchdowns in college. Or in high school. And my friend Zach and I were like, what the hell? Who is this guy? God damn. And then, of course, that season, he goes on to, win the Heisman. But, yeah.
So, for me, I never thought Manziel was going to work. And my whole issue was that when I watched him play, like you said, he was great at like scrambling in the pocket.
Yeah.
But too much of that, from what I saw, was like, in my opinion, like a lot of his scrambles were like dudes like linebackers and defensive linemen like reaching out, getting like one hand on him, and then him like shaking free of that one hand.
Yeah.
And my whole thing was that like when you get to the NFL, if Ndamukong Suh gets even a pinky on you, it's a wrap. Dude.
Exactly.
Like, you're not shaking
you think
that
Aaron
man
Donald?
loose.
Yeah, you think you're gonna Trent Richardson, Aaron Donald? No, dude, he's gonna destroy you. And I think that's what ended up happening is that, there's a difference between guys who run and can fall forward or out of bounds, like someone like Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton. Because you cannot take those hits over and over and over and over again. Like you have to be good at scrambling, but then knowing when to dive, knowing when to, run out of bounds. And I think
right, and there's
Wilson's
also a different level of shiftiness between getting loose and never getting touched.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's like Lamar Jackson never got touched. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Lamar Jackson will juke you and you'll be 2 yards away now.
Yeah.
Like Manziel was like a lot of just barely getting away.
It was like Romo, right?
Yeah. But Romo I have to imagine in college probably looked better than Romo in the NFL as far as getting away from tackles.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And then like we saw what happens when that catches up to you. You know.
Right. You end up with like fucking 8 back surgeries and,
Yeah.
and you know, your ribs are constantly damaged and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I never understood how Romo broke so many tackles because the only move he had was either he dipped forward, like crouched basically, or he just did his little spin move. But like,
And
his
spin,
how-
or he
how
did
do
he did the fucking the one where he like the stutter like where he somebody's coming at him and he like stops. You know, he does like
Yeah.
that stop going forward, kind of like the Trent Richardson one.
Yeah. But it was just like how are you juking? It's like anytime we talk about Jason Witten's juke. Like Jason Witten has this slow ass juke and it's like the most lethargic looking shit I've ever seen in my life.
It's
But
like
then
he's
like
yeah.
some dude will just slide off of his legs. And I'm like, how, dude? How are you not able to bring him down?
Exactly. The man has calcium deposits the size of rocks in his kneecaps. Like, come on, man.
But sure enough, dude, he'd be fucking going up the middle and he'd hit that fucking slow ass juke.
Yeah.
And some dude would like just get an arm on the knee and then just like lose it.
And there
I was
goes,
like,
yeah,
how?
from 3rd and 5 to 1st and 10 every single time.
Yeah. But yeah, Romo would just like, and I have to imagine at some point you just have to be ready for the spin, but no one ever was.
Yeah.
Like you just hit the spin and they were gone. And I was like, how? Every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
But yeah, Manziel didn't have that. You know what I mean? Like Manziel would
sucks.
just like try and get away and just get pulled down because, like I said, when a grown ass man like fucking Aaron Donald is getting a hand on you, you're not shaking that loose, dude. You're going down.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that I think, didn't the Browns draft Richardson and Manziel? Wasn't that the Browns for both of them?
Yes,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
it's like what they got Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb, but before that it was Manziel and Richardson. And one of those sets is way better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's funny because I don't even think Mayfield's great. Just Nick Chubb's a beast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Manziel I never thought was gonna make it. But he fooled a lot of people. So that was one where like realistically, if I'm being honest, like I can say I knew, but like I feel like that one was probably just a toss up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, for me, like, I didn't think he was going to be amazing.
I don't know. I
thought
don't
he was
know
gonna be
that much
solid.
more than other NFL like experts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like-
so in my head, I had one anecdotal bit of evidence, and then he happened to not work out, and I was like, "See?"
Yeah. I mean, this is a league that has fucking Josh Allen out there, you know, playing well. And what's his name? Gardner Minshew. Like if you saw Gardner Minshew in college and you saw Johnny Manziel, like, how do you, like, is one really that much better than the other? Like, can you tell me, like, oh, Minshew's going to be the guy to make it? Like, no. Like, sometimes it's just like,
I do think Josh Allen is noticeably more athletic than Manziel.
oh, he's bigger.
He's more like Cam Newton than
Yeah.
Manziel. But
Oh, he's
your
more like Cam
Gardner-
Newton? That was your two Americas comment right there.
Nah, because Bomani Jones has even said that Josh Allen should benefit from an offense more like Cam Newton's, where they let him run because he is fast and he is big. But that's not me. I've read that from respected people on the other side of another America.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that they didn't make it, but, you know, not
Yeah.
everybody's going to be Julio Jones or...
Yeah, sorry, a
Patrick Mahomes.
super quick one though.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because I don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
And shout out to the last person on my list, Peyton Hillis, who had 1 year, was good on a Madden cover, trash immediately. I don't know what happened to him. Just all of a sudden he was terrible, and that's all there was to it. So the last thing we want to touch on is the North Carolina State Fair.
Yes. Yeah. So they canceled it for 2020, which of course, when the news came out, I was like, wait, they hadn't already canceled it? Like,
Right,
don't
don't
like-
now making this decision.
exactly. Like, don't like fucking 100,000 people show up over the course of the 2 weeks? Like, what? Like, but I guess they were waiting for a miracle.
Was this ever in doubt?
Yeah. And so,
It's like if fucking like 2 days before the season starts, like Bill Belichick signs extension to continue coaching the Patriots. Like really, like
Yeah.
we didn't know this already.
exactly. It's like, of course, duh. You go until you stop. Yeah. So I was kind of sad. I mean, because I love the fair, or like, I don't know. I love and just don't love the fair, but I like it because like I've gone every year since I've lived in Raleigh. So this would have been, I think, the 5th or 6th year that I would have gone, and I like going. You know, you eat the fucking turkey leg, or you get like a slushy, or you get like
Right.
some weird food, or shop some weird shit, you get some hush puppies, and you ride a ride maybe, you get to see some pigs or some shit. But I've always liked that. I've always liked it. Always for me, it was always kind of like one of those things that's like, oh, it's fall now, right? Like it's sort of like a
Right.
signifier as to the year. So I was bummed. I was, I like
So I have never gone to the fair.
going. Oh.
Riding rides.
Mhm.
Here's the deal. I have no problem with any amusement park ever, right?
Mhm.
I'll ride every fucking ride at every amusement park. I don't care. If you go to a fair and you ride a ride, you're a goddamn psycho.
That adds to the thrill, man. You could die at any moment.
I don't trust any ride to have the structural integrity if it can just be folded down and packed up in a day.
People tell me that all the time. They're like, well, what if the screws come loose? I'm like, good. That's what I want. Like, what are you talking about?
I want to be on the Ferris wheel fucking rolling through town.
I want to be spitting and then have a fucking bolt like land in my hand because it's flying off. Like,
And then you're just like looking up fear, like in fucking terrible fear the whole time.
yeah, they're like, you mean like Final Destination 3? What if that happens? I'm like, that's fun as shit. Did you not see the movie? Like,
Which, real quick, brings me to like the most terrifying story I've ever had at an amusement park. Was at fucking Carowinds, back when Thunder Road like still went both ways.
Yeah.
I, as a kid, was on it. Was tall enough to be on it. There was no. I didn't do any sort of like sketchy like maneuvers to try and get past the height test.
Yeah.
But like something happened and I slid. Like, I don't know what exactly happened, but I slid underneath the lap bar and was just down in the bottom loose, like, for the ride. And like, my dad was with me, and, like, the whole ride, he was just, like, reached over, like, holding me as tight as he could with his arm, like, wrapped around the lap bar. Like,
Jesus Christ,
I was so fucking scared.
Jesus Christ. I would be like, never again. I mean, dude, I remember Thunder Road. And it's like, for those of you who haven't been to Carowinds, it's like one of those old-timey, like, or I guess they tore it down now, but it's like one of those wooden ones that have like a fucking 1,000 wooden pillars and shit. And it's just like,
I think the hurler is the last one they still have that's wooden over there.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember I went in middle
They're
school.
so loud. Sorry.
They just fucking bang you around. Like, I had a headache after. They're not fun. But I went in middle school with the guy who's my roommate now, my friend Ryan, and I remember we were in the front, like the very front. We literally like waited a little bit longer to go to the very front of Thunder Road, like the first cart. So the thing goes over, right? You know, it's going up the thing, clack, 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 and then we go over, dude. If you're in those front carts, you actually come off the tracks a little bit, and then you come back down. And so I remember so vividly, we came off the tracks. We came back down. I look over at him. He's looking over at me. We're both like, what the fuck, dude? And then that's when I was like, Thunder Road, never again, dude.
They used to have two tracks on Thunder Road. They were the same, and one just the thing ran forwards, and the other one like the carts were turned backwards.
Yeah.
So you were going backwards. You couldn't see where you're going. Then they went to both forwards, and then they turned tore it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just my terrifying story at an amusement park. So I damn sure ain't trusting a fucking fair ride, dude. Like, I promise.
I see. I don't do like any of the. I do like the tilt-a-whirl ones, like the spinning ones. Like those are okay.
You know what ride always terrifies me, even no matter how safe it is?
Yeah.
Is the one that's just like, it's always like a ship.
I was just gonna say that was like the pirate
and
ship.
Then at the
I
top,
was
you're
just
like upside down for too long, and I'm like, at any point in time, like my legs could just slip loose, and I'm just falling, dude. And worst case scenario is I fall, but as I'm falling, it fucking whips back around and catches me.
like drop kicks you.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking punched me through the sky.
Dude,
fucking red mist.
Yeah, dude, those are terrifying. I don't ride those since I went to Carowinds, because the one in Carowinds is like the heavy duty one, and the one in Carowinds you'll like get on it and it'll be like literally upside down, and it'll keep you there for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it'll just be like, all right, you like that, bitch? All right, we're going to stay here for longer. And then it swings back down, and then it comes back around. And you're like, oh, you like being upside down again? 10 more seconds, bitch. And then, and so...
And the whole time, like, all your weight is on your legs, and you're like, God damn, this hurts.
You're like, I got to do, like, you got to tighten them up, like, you're pinching your butt cheeks to keep position.
You're like, if I loosen my asshole, dude, I'm falling out of this shit.
But so when I go, I only really do the Ferris wheel. I love the Ferris wheel. That one's always fun.
Yeah.
Or it's not really like it. You like can look out and shit. So I like that. But I also do this one. I don't know what it's called, but it's the line is always super long because it only fits 8 people at a time. So what it does is that it's like a long stick, or it's like a long metal contraption, and then on each end it has a pod, and each pod has 2 people on each side facing opposite directions.
Okay.
And so it loads one, and then it takes them all the way to the top, like 10 stories up, and then it loads the other. And so what it does is that the bar spins, but then as the bar spins, the pods themselves spin invertically.
Right.
You know which ones I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about.
And so, like, dude, if you're going a certain way, like, you come over the top of it, and it looks like you're about to just like smack right into the ground. And it's a lot. And, like,
and
that,
one day that ride is going to.
it's
Smack.
gonna smack me. Yeah, the last smack. And so I love that one, but that one the line is always really long, so I never ride that one. So it's basically just the Ferris wheel for me when I go.
Right, and then just in your words, looking at pigs and shit.
Pigs, yeah. Wow, look at that giant cow! Or like, look at that extra large horse. This is the biggest squash in North Carolina.
Whoa. that never appeals to me because like I have this awful time where like I need to be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Like so for example, everyone loves the fall festival here in Asheboro and it is the most boring fucking thing to me. Like I don't have any interest in just walking and looking at booths. And also it's all handmade garbage.
Yeah,
like
dude.
it's
all
like,
just
I made a fucking earring and then you
Yeah.
look at the earring and it's like a piece of fucking cardboard that's
It's like a
been
Pepsi
painted.
can.
I'm like,
Yeah, it's like a
I'm
Pepsi
like, I'm
can.
good.
Yeah. It's a Pepsi can made out of like, or a little miniature plane made out of a Pepsi can. You're like, oh, cool. A racist made this. Cool. But I do I like the fall festival for the funnel cakes and for they have orangeade. I love orangeade. So
Yeah,
that's the only reason I go. If I go back, that's where I go. But no, I think you should go to the fair once Julian's a little older. I think it's good for kids. And I think it's like, it's got like all those little games that they like the little,
Right.
where you blow up the balloons with the water, or like you throw little
Right.
rings. So like that, I mean, it's all rigged,
Yeah,
like,
it's all rigged and just meant for you to blow an ignorant amount of money.
right. But I think he would like it. Like I think
It's
it's
so
for
fun,
kids a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I every time I go, I never go to the fair like on a Saturday. Like I don't go. I'm going at 10 a.m. and I'm gonna be there until 10 at night. Whatever. It's always literally just I go after work. I pick up a turkey leg. I eat some deep fried shit. I see some pigs and shit, and I ride one ride, and then I watch the fireworks, and I go home. And like that's it. Like that's like my
Right.
fall. It's just to sort of get like the experience. I don't know. I've always just liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just for whatever reason, yeah, I've never been to the fair really. There's like that little bullshit one they set up at the mall. I've gone to it once and it was like,
Yeah.
that's
See. Okay. So like
boring.
those I'm not riding. Okay. Because those.
Yeah.
Okay. So like it's like levels to this shit, right? So there's like Carowinds, and then there's like the state fair ones, which are like I think a little safer just because of how many people go, and then you have like.
The ones where they're set up anywhere in a parking lot. and you're
Literally
like, I think
set
I'm
up
good.
like dude, like yeah, like there's literally set up in like a mall parking lot, and you drive by, you're like, oh, that wasn't there yesterday. Now there's a giant metal contraption there. Totally safe, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm not riding that. But yeah. So those are the only ones I went to. I've never gone to the state fair, but now that you mention it, like I'm sure once Julian's older, we'll be going at some point just to say we went.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's good for kids, like for like a day, and I'm sure like if I would have gone as a kid, because I didn't go until I think it was my senior year of high school. So I feel like if I would have gone, I would have been like, this is amazing, like this is so cool, it's like the biggest fair in the world, and they have like monster trucks and shit. And it would have blown my mind. I'm positive.
Gravedigger.
Yeah. Have you ever been to one of those?
I have not.
They look terrible. But
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You pay for the whole seat, but you only need the edge. Like, it's like the same pitch every time.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like the same stock footage of like the same
Oh,
monster
yeah.
truck running over the same cars.
That dude's got a Walkman on.
All right, well, that was the
gosh.
episode. That was episode 13. We will catch you guys next week. If you want to catch me, you can catch me at T Moneybags on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can find me on Instagram at evercastro92.
And you can catch the podcast specifically on Instagram or Twitter at diffanimalspod. If you want to shoot us an email, it's differentanimalspodcast@gmail.com. Interact with, give us something to talk about. Have any comments? We'll talk about. If you have anything interesting to say about something we talked about this episode, we can talk about it in the next episode.
Like, what was your favorite, carny interaction at the state fair?
Right. Like, were you groped inappropriately?
Yeah, by some burrito. Okay, so dude, I had
Oh no!
No. Not me. But I was gonna say, I've had this like movie story idea for like ever, and literally all I have is just like the theme, the title, and like that's it. But it is a murderer who goes city to city with a fair, and he kills people, and they can never catch him because he's always leaving town like at the end of the weekend. And the movie's called Carney.
Oh fuck!
Yeah. That's like literally all I have. I don't have anything else. Not the characters, not the like. Literally, all I have is just the idea of like a guy who like they never catch because he's like, well, does he know the victim? He's like, no, like he left. But I'm sure like any good detective would be like, there was a festival in all these towns.
What's funny though is that's what I was thinking. I was like, any amount of DNA evidence is a wrap. It doesn't matter. But then it hit me that I remember I was looking. On a more serious note, we were talking about God. What is it? What's the police force that got abolished recently? Was it Minneapolis?
Minneapolis, yes.
Minneapolis police, and then they like when they finally got abolished, they were like, here's all these like statistics, and it was like something like they had like rape kits that still need to be tested from fucking 1990, like, and then it was like they had only solved like something stupid like 40 or 50% of murders, and I was like, is it way easier to get away with murder than I think? Like,
yeah,
like if I kill someone, it's a coin toss whether I get caught or not.
Exactly. Like, dude, did you see that story this week about the WWE wrestler? He like just confessed to murdering somebody on his Facebook page. He was literally like, he put a picture of this. It's just like an old like lower level guy, and he literally was like, oh, this is my girlfriend Jennifer. I remember this time. It was when Joe asked me to disappear the guy. It wasn't the first time I disappeared a guy. If the cops had looked in this creek, they would have found him and shit. And everybody was like, wait, dude, did you just confess to a murder on Facebook? What the hell's going on?
Holy shit. Okay, hold on. WWE legend Marty Jannetty's apparent murder confession sparks police probe.
Yeah, dude, read his Facebook post if they have it in that article.
Oh, dude, hold on. Let's see. I think this is a different one.
No, yeah, 24 minutes. Yeah, it says I never told no one this, but even my brother, because Gina would have killed him. And then he was like, I came back from Nam, and the first time I made a man disappear, they never found him. They should have looked in the Chattahoochee River. But Winnie, the girl in this pics, I love you so damn much.
Shit, dude. Holy fuck. Yeah, that's like, I've never thought murders were a thing people actually got away with, but apparently happens all the time.
Yeah. So that's the idea.
So yeah, Carney, dude, that's what it should be. Here's the deal: it should be a dark comedy. Like he's killing people, and you have just terribly inept police officers just like fucking up everything in every scene. Like you have an actual mass murderer, right? Like for real. Yeah. And every scene with him is very serious and like legitimate. And then when the cops show up the next day to the murder scene, it's fucking Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's like Andy Samberg being like, "Oh my God, he killed her with corn."
And that's the movie. Boy, we're gonna flesh this motherfucker out. Drop it on Disney Plus for $30.
I'm gonna say kind of like how Kanye says on Last Call, where he's like, "Hey, I might use that, so don't bite that yet." So
yeah, exactly, because he drops the old hook, right?
Yeah, he drops the wow hook, and he's like, "Well, don't bite that, don't take it. I might still use it."
I might still use that. Yeah. So, all right, well, that's the episode, guys. Stay safe, stay entertained, and we'll catch you every fucking Thursday at noon without fail.
Yep. All right.
Peace.
See you guys.
Oh.
Yep.
This works two ways. You brought up Last Call, and then we're going to use this as a teaser for one of our topics for next week. But my Kanye quote is going to be a line from Last Call, which is nicest Bun B. When I met him at the Source Awards, girl he added with him, ass could award the Horse Awards.